Because also if you know Wout van Aert, he's a model teammate, and if he knows that he can't win himself, which I think for the moment he has decided for himself, okay, I need to improve physically because after my illness, he would do everything he can to help a teammate. He would be there to be the last lead-out guy. It would be Affini and then Wout and then Olaf Koy. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he would do it if he can. We just don't know if he can't do it physically or if he can do it mentally for the moment.
Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus Giro d'Italia edition. I'm Spencer Martin. I'm here with Johan Bruyneel. We are breaking down stage 4 that just wrapped up and then predicting tomorrow's stage 5. Stage 4 won by Casper van Uden from Team Picnic-PostNL. Probably not everyone's favorite. I mean, we didn't even mention him in our preview. Olaf Koy was second. And Johan, I might need you. Do you know who got third? What is this man's name?
Michael Zeilaert.
Michael Zeilaert. Three Dutch riders in the top three.
Zeilaert won the prologue, if I'm not mistaken, in Romandy Tour of Romandy last year. He won the prologue. He is, I'm not sure, but he is related to. First, I thought he was the son, but he's not. He has to say auntie to. Leontien van Moorsel, multiple Tour de France winner, world champion, Olympic champion. I think he's the son of the brother-in-law of her husband.
Yes, I actually remember talking about this in our Romandy episode. Not this year, but the year before. So Mads Pedersen fourth gets points, which is significant for the points jersey battle. Wout van Aert does not finish in the points, I believe, but I'll just run through quick recap of the episode. 135K to go. There's an intermediate sprint for points. And kind of interesting, an Alpecin teammate that's not Caden Groves goes through in second place behind the lone breakaway rider. And then Koy was third, Pedersen fourth. 125K to go. Mads Pedersen crashes, so Day's already kind of going sideways there. And then 102K to go. Kind of an interesting, it's this Red Bull kilometer. It's this, I find it to be confusing. It's really just a Red Bull time sprint point is what they should call it. But the rider in the breakaway, I should say this person's name because they spent all day out front. It is someone from Pulte Visit Malta. It's Francisco Munoz. So he did the Lord's work out there by himself. But 102K to go. There's a time bonus sprint. Munoz goes through. He takes 6 seconds. There's a sprint from the peloton that Roglic is going for the time bonus seconds. Second gets fourth. Third gets 2. Fourth gets 0. Isaac Del Toro sprints up and gets the 4 seconds. Roglic gets the 2. Ayuso gets 0 in fourth. And it's like, well, at first I was like, well, I guess Del Toro is trying to keep Roglic from getting the 4. But if you really think about it, Roglic now gets 2 seconds on Ayuso and the rest of the field, and Ayuso gets 0 seconds on the rest of the field. So wouldn't they have been better off with Roglic just taking the 4 and Del Toro giving the 2 to Ayuso so he could put time on everybody else?
You're right, Spencer. I mean, but it's not easy to calculate that. I think the first objective was that Del Toro took away the 4 seconds from Roglic. So, in terms of time difference between both of them, it's the same, right? If Roglic takes 2 and 0, it's the same. Just that Ayuso would take 2 seconds on everybody else. But in the big scheme of things, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But hey, it's another 2 seconds for Roglic. He is. We know how Primoz gets his time gains bit by bit. Patiently and bit by bit. So listen, he knows that the Giro is a calculation and that the time differences at the end are not very big usually. He's on a good way.
Yeah, I mean, the last Giro he won was by 14 seconds, so he's out there hunting for every second. 53K to go. There's another intermediate sprint, not for time, but for points. Coy gets second from the peloton, beats Pedersen and Grope. So it's clearly motivated for this points jersey. 21K to go, coming into town. It's not Lecce. It's not Lecce. It's Lecce. Lecce.
Is it? I don't know. I think it's Lecce.
I don't know. Let us know, Italian listeners, please. It's in 21K to go. I thought this was going to be, one of these sleepy Giro stages where we come in and we do a sprint. No, it's like hotly contested, because little do we know there's a massive compression with 19K to go. So 21K to go. Soren Kragh Andersen from Little Trek crashes. Mads Pedersen and the team was too far back. I didn't quite see where they were, but Mads Pedersen ends up in the back there, which is a bad place to be. They go into this extreme compression. The road basically goes from like 2 lanes to 1 lane.
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, if you see the helicopter view, it looks very dangerous. Surprisingly, nothing more happened, especially because, you have the nerves already of the final of the stage, and the way it got narrow, it was a bit too dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah, there was riders basically stopped while the front, gets through cleanly, and it was like so intense that Pedersen didn't get back to the front until 7K to go. So it's like 12K of chasing. Giulio Ciccone was off the back, got a little help from maybe the commissaires car there. Got back to the peloton, no harm, no foul. 1.5K to go. Alpesen's on the front for Groves, and immediately I'm thinking, wow, they are going fast. Like they were going 65K an hour, just holding it. That's 40 miles an hour for American listeners, not even in the sprint yet. And what's happening here is if you go back and watch it, like Picnic-PostNL is hiding in the group, and they have time trial helmets on, which is also smart if you're going 65K an hour, sustained speeds. They get inside the final kilometer. Wiesma comes to the front, probably thinking, oh, perfect. We have one lead out rider. We have Olaf Koy. We're in great position. No, Picnic-PostNL kind of jumps them with their whole team with 500 meters to go. It's this really twisty, like disorienting finish almost. It's not straightforward at all. And then Casper van Uden, he launches first, and I think it was just so fast, no one could get around him. Olaf Koy ends up in second. He was making up ground, but he just couldn't make it up fast enough. I would say the two things that stuck out, first of all, PostNL. I think we were just talking on Sunday, right, about how they need points. They don't have enough points, and they come back and win today. Probably not enough to hold off Astana, but we'll talk about some like deeper implications of maybe they can salvage their next season if they score enough points here. But the time trial helmet's really smart with it that fast. And then also, Johan, are we seeing, like, if sprints are this fast, is it even viable to try to come from behind? Like, should you just sprint first if you're going that fast?
It's, the speeds are higher and higher. Huge gears. We all know that. It's at some point. There is a debate about putting a limit on the gears, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think they want to do a test to prevent higher speeds. Listen, sprints is different, but I think the biggest danger of these huge gears that they're using now, some have 58, 60s in enormous stages. It's completely different for a time trial stage, but that means actually that they can keep pedaling in the downhills. And that's where the danger is, in my opinion. But anyways, on the flats also, sprints nowadays, they're 70K an hour. Whereas before it was 62, 63, now it's 70 or even more than that. So it's very, very difficult to get out of the slipstream and go 75, there's a limit to everything. But listen, Van Uden and Picnic-PostNL, they did a great job. They had their whole team, they came at the right moment, and well-deserved victory. And as you say, Spencer, the points are very necessary. Yesterday they got passed by Astana in the top 18. Now they're back. I think stage win is 180 points, right? And on top of that, the Astana guy, Max Kanter, who was fifth today, got disqualified and relegated, got a yellow card also. So those 180 points are pure points on Astana. So they're back. They're back just one stage, So they need a good Giro, and they need a good rest of the season to be safe. which I'm a bit worried about, because we'll see what Bardet does in this Giro, right? I think if Bardet does a good GC, we know that Astana doesn't have anybody for GC unless Scaroni pulls out a rabbit out of the hat. But I think, honestly, that Bardet is a better GC rider. And on top of that, I think it is his last ever Grand Tour of his career. Bardet finishes, he does the Dauphiné, and then he will finish, his career is over. He stops mid-season. So for the moment, I think he's just surfing the wheels and trying to be up there and stay in contention for GC. It's an interesting battle, this points battle. We've talked about it already. Cofidis is also in danger zone. X is coming up strong. Astana is doing everything they can to be in the top 18, and Picnic-PostNL. So those 4 teams, in my opinion, between those 4 is going to be the 2 spots, because I think we can forget about Arkea. In this Giro, we're gonna have an eye on this every day. Also in other races, and I think there is where probably Picnic will have to probably change their strategy a bit, because they're not doing that many races where they can score points, and so there's still time to change, but they should have thought about this before. Astana did. Astana has designed the calendar purely focused on points, knowing that the majority of the points they will score will not be in the high-level races, which is the right strategy.
Like if you can go online and you can look at both teams' remaining schedule, and Astana's is like 7 pages long, and then Picnic-PostNL's is basically just the World Tour schedule. So a problem right there. I don't know if they can. Maybe Astana like collapses in the second half of the season because everyone's so tired from trying to get points, and Romain Bardet gets 4th at this race. But I just think on volume they can't do this. But then the big question becomes, can they finish 3rd? I believe next year that the UCI is expanding the top 2, like for Grand Tours and one-day races at the World Tour level. It is now currently the top 2 pro teams from the year before are automatically invited. Next year, I believe they're making it the top 3. So let's say Uno X.
I'm not clear on that unless something has changed in the last few weeks. Normally, it's the 2 first are invited to every single World Tour race, and the 3rd one is invited to all the one-day races of the World Tour. There might be a change, though, now that they have added a 23rd team for this year. I think next year is back to 22, and probably maybe three invites. No, I'm not sure about that. Haven't followed the news on that.
I think what my source was suggesting is that they might keep the 23, and then basically take a wild card away and allocate that to the 3rd pro. I don't think any of this is like set in stone. So that would be kind of, I mean, we don't have to get into this now. It'd be kind of funny if they had 23 teams for this Tour de France, and then next year it's 22. It's like, so what was that about? Is that just because you wanted to invite Tudor to the Giro, or what's going on here?
They can do whatever they want. They change the rules whenever they want. So it's clear that this is at the request of ASO. And of course, you can't just give the 23rd team to just the Tour. You have to do the same for the Vuelta and the Giro, otherwise it would look even more ridiculous. But we've seen worse. It makes me think now, Spencer. I mean, there's nothing to do with the Giro, or I'm going way back, but I remember, man, I mean, if you think about this now, this is about the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in terms of a rule change. There was one year, I don't remember the year, it was in the 90s, where they were also having trouble with inviting teams, and they had, they didn't know if they had to take this team or this team. And it was at the beginning of T-Mobile. It was still Telecom back then. And you know what they did? They made a mixed team There was two teams.
I just was reading a book about this.
It was Telecom and ZG Mobili, an Italian team. And so there was 9 riders. So there was 5 riders from one team and 4 from the other team. They made it one team. And they rode with their own jerseys. They rode, they were one team. So we've seen worse. We've seen crazier stuff than this,
I love this. They should bring this back. This should be like worked into the points race somehow. But basically, long story short, they're like 800 points behind Tudor, which is probably going to be the second team. So it's not too late, actually. And let's say it's expanded out to 3. They're about 600 points behind Q36.5. The thing about Tudor and Q36.5, they're not going to rack up points at the same rate as Astana, I would imagine. Astana is currently the third best team in the sport in terms of points. So it's not too late actually to salvage this. And today was a big win. Casper van Uden, you might be thinking, man, I've never heard of this guy. It's his first Grand Tour win, but he won probably my favorite race, Rundum Köln, just because I like the city. I remember I watched this and he beat Biniam Girmay. This was last May. And I thought, that guy's pretty good. And then it clearly, especially these Dutch.
Do you have the results there of that race?
Yeah. So it's Casper first.
Who was third?
Is this your nephew, Louis Bluot?
Exactly.
Crazy. That's nuts. Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I must have missed that at the time. Crazy. So, I mean, clearly, like if you're a power, like you look at the guy, he's just like really powerful. So you line him up perfectly for a sprint early in a Grand Tour. He's 23 years old. Probably doesn't have, I think this is the first Grand Tour he's ever doing.
It's his first Grand Tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he's going to win a stage, it's going to be on an early stage just like this. But I think the key thing was like Picnic just clearly dialed in. I wonder if we might see more of this now. Like, let's wear time trial helmets because we're going real fast.
Listen, and the Giro is known for these kind of things, Spencer. There's always a few sprints where you have a guy winning. You say, where does this guy come from?
We were just talking about this.
We were about Dainese. Remember Dainese in the Giro? Yeah. So obviously there was a big plan for today. You could see also straight after the finish that Van Uden was pointing at the helmet. So he was very, very proud that they made that decision. Listen, it's you have to dare, because these helmets are not comfortable. It's a pure time trial helmet with the visor included. There's not a lot of ventilation. It's not easy to ride with those things.
Can you change helmets? No, right? Because you can't take your helmet off.
I've seen them. I've seen people change helmets, but I think and you better make sure that no commissaire sees you.
I think we're going to see teams like 10K to go. They're just out. They're just full helmet change.
Maybe not 10K to go, but let's say half race. Okay, let's change helmets, or maybe just the sprinter, just the guy who needs to finish off the job. It's marginal, right? It's very difficult
at those speeds, though. I mean,
yes, but it's difficult to quantify. It's difficult to quantify what the gain is. There is a gain, that's for sure. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
It is. I was just thinking, like, maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like sprints are getting closer and closer, and I think it was Patrick Bro from the Lantern Rouge podcast on stage 1 was saying, he's like, oh yeah, blowout win, like half a wheel or a wheel length. And I remember thinking like, man, I think that used to be a close sprint. Like a bike showing someone a clean pair of wheels actually used to happen quite a bit. It almost feels like the margins we're getting used to like bike throws separating.
Yeah, no, listen, there is that's absolutely true, Spencer. We're seeing a lot of photo finishes. In the last in the last 2 years, at least, as far as I can remember, I've seen a lot of really close finishes where photo finish was needed to determine the winner.
Yeah, so some interesting stuff in sprints happening. We don't have to dive into it here, but Casper in pretty good shape. You might be wondering, how did he get this fit before the Giro d'Italia? Well, great time to talk about our new partner, the Join Cycling app. Maybe Casper's been in the App Store checking this out, and maybe this is what he's using to get faster. And I know I've been using the Join Cycling app lately, and honestly, it's changed the way I train, mainly due to my newsletter and podcast during the season. My schedule is all over the place. It's hard for me to map out a schedule and like a training schedule and follow it. And that is where Join comes in, because they can build a dynamic plan for you that changes after every workout you do. So after every ride, whether you did great or you did not do great, you put in what you did, or you can just sync it up with your Garmin Connect, and the app adjusts and recalibrates every workout based on how you did, your fitness goals, and how your fitness is tracking. It's like having a coach that you don't have to actually have a conversation with, which is nice, because it's like you go out, you do a terrible workout, you got to call your coach and talk about it. No one likes that. And that's what Join fixes. And it also, I think this is not something I'm going to struggle with, and maybe at the moment or in the near future, but sometimes there's someone I'm thinking of right now, actually, who probably trains too much to their detriment, and Join really reins you in. Like, it will tell you if you're training too much, if you're overtraining, how you can keep from doing that. So that's actually, I think, one of the most important parts about having a coach is telling you not to overtrain, and Join will help you with that. Their platform is super easy to use. If you're serious about getting faster, I would highly recommend it. And you're in luck, because the Move listeners get 30 days for free. All you have to do is go to join.cc/themove. That's join.cc/themove for 30 days free, or check it out in the show notes. Johan, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this on air, but I think they're launching like a group stats feature, so we could potentially move our yearly mileage competition over to Join if we.
Where do we stand? Where do we stand for the moment? I haven't checked lately.
I'm going to look it up.
I guess you're still quite a bit ahead, because you were about 1,000 kilometers ahead a while ago. I think I'm closing in a little bit. I would think, but I'm still behind you in terms of volume, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure you ride faster than me. For the people actually who asked, because I saw some people in our comments questioning Spencer's knowledge about cycling. He has been a competitive cyclist domestically in the US. Had some good results, so he absolutely knows what he's talking about, just for the record, because people have said, Spencer doesn't know what he's talking about because he's never been a cyclist. He has been a cyclist and knows how to train.
So I'm currently, right? Hopefully. Yeah. I know a thing or two, people. All right. So I'm currently 400, and this isn't going to help you at all. I'm 437 miles ahead of you. So that's like 700K. Is that?
Oh, that's too much. We need to change that. That needs to change.
Well, this is no one cares about this at all, but what's going to be critical is the tour, because how am I going to keep my mile? We're staying at like on the top of a mountain. There's not a lot of great time to ride. I might have to commute to the studio and back. It's going to get tricky during the tour, Johan. That's when I'm most vulnerable, I think.
Okay. I'm going to take advantage of that month to reel you in.
Yeah, I would circle that one on the old schedule for you. But any other, I mean, do you think these crashes, crash singular and then disruptions multiple is going to affect Pedersen like going in later into this race, or no?
I don't think so. I mean, he looked okay today. In the end, he was fourth, was up there. It's obviously bad news about his teammate, Søren Kragh Andersen. He looked really beat up when he crossed the finish line. In the meantime, we've seen the report from Little Track that he broke his wrist and is out of the race. So they're down one rider. Makes a difference when you have to control the race, and especially if you have to, then keep as many possible guys together for the final to prepare the finish. We're going to talk in a little bit about tomorrow's stage, but if you have that one guy less, that means that you have to use a guy earlier on that you would normally save a little for the final. 7 riders and 8 riders on a team makes a big difference. So they're going to feel that.
Yeah.
Too bad for Søren Kragh Andersen, man. I mean, he just comes back from an injury. I think his first race back was Liège-Bastogne-Liège, actually. So he's it's a tough sport, man. Starting again, then doing the Giro, being on a team that's in the winning mood. Obviously, he was going to build his form and get better during the Giro, and now he's out again. That's terrible.
It's terrible. Also, do you remember he won 2 stages at the same Tour de France?
Mm-hmm.
That was 5 years ago.
Wow.
I feel like that just happened.
Wow.
Oh my Lord. On DSM, I believe.
Yeah, he was on DSM
at the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I that was my first thought. It's like this then cuts them down a rider for everything that they do. But I guess that's why you press the gas pedal when you have the chance. Like they had the hot hand in Albania, so win as many stages as you can before things start going bad. Because
Spencer,
eventually,
no matter what happens in this Giro, their Giro is a success already.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And they still have. I mean, Mats is obviously going to go for the points jersey. He, in my opinion, he's still going to win one or more stages, and they have Ciccone, who wants to, do well in GC. He's shown that he rides well. If it's not GC, maybe for the mountains jersey, he has done that in the Tour already. So he could definitely do that in the Giro. So Trek is not done. Little Trek is not done.
Yeah, the Ciccone. I'm curious to see what Ciccone is going to do. I don't know if I now that I said he's not going to do well in GC, he's never finished top 10. Someone did point out to me, an esteemed journalist, Lionel Burney, actually, that he got 11th at the Tour de France last year. So that actually is a pretty good result. So, maybe he could be up there in the GC, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Any thoughts on the Visma lead out train? Most notably, they did not have Wout van Aert.
Yeah, there was no lead up train. There was one rider. It was Eduardo Affini, no?
It was, yeah.
Affini is, he counts for two. They missed one guy. Wout was not to be seen in the final of the race. We don't know if it's due to lack of form. I mean, I think he will agree with me that he's not in top shape. We've seen a few times, when it was really hard that he couldn't respond or he couldn't be where we expect him to be. Something also tells me, looks like he's a bit. I don't know. After crashes and last year and bad luck, it looks a bit like he's not with the fire to be fighting there for everything. So I don't know if he's don't want to take any risks or if he's scared to take risks. It's something we've seen already also in the first Spring Classics, right? That he was having problems with positioning. At the time, I thought that it was because lack of legs, that he just didn't have the power. I'm starting to change my mind, Spencer, on this. I think there might be an issue with him not wanting or not being able to be taking any risks anymore after so many crashes. It gets to you. It's been a lot of times, and at some point it gets to you, and you see danger everywhere, where before you just found it normal to be rubbing shoulders and pushing elbows. I think we need to have a good look at this. If Wout is for the moment not in a position where he's struggling mentally to be in front, because all these finals are it's a war zone. I keep saying it. I've been criticized by certain journalists that I call it war. But it is war. Anybody who says it's not war has never been on a bike in that position. But it looks to me like Wout doesn't want to be in the war for the moment. I can understand. He's had a lot of mishaps.
Yeah, the less said about my cycling career, the better. So if people think I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because we don't need to talk about it. This is a completely mediocre cycling endeavor. But one thing I did notice today is I had this problem where I got so scared in crits. It's just I could never be in the right place after a bad crash. And Wout kind of I could just see him today in the bunch. It's like he was always where it got technical in the finish, always where it was hardest, never where he needed to be. And it's I think I know what's going on there. But what's funny, I'm almost flipped on this, because I remember at high end, I was thinking, oh, this is a bad situation physically, he's not going to be ready physically. And you were saying, oh, don't worry about it. And now I'm almost well, he's physically, at least before this sickness, I thought he looked really good. Think of Amstel Gold getting fourth at Amstel, fourth at Roubaix. That's really hard to do. So I almost now it's like, well, physically actually looks fantastic. It's just I am a little worried, as you say, about this.
Yeah, because also if you know Wout van Aert, he's a model teammate, and if he knows that he can't win himself, which I think for the moment he has decided for himself, okay, I need to improve physically because of after my illness, he would do everything he can to help a teammate. He would be there to be the last lead out guy. Would be Affini and then Wout and then Olaf Koy. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he would do it if he can. We just don't know if he can't do it physically or if he can do it mentally for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Well, on that note, do you have anything else to say about stage 4?
I think that's about it. I would say a relatively easy stage for the whole peloton, except the high speeds at the end, which are crazy. I think the last 10 or 15 kilometers, they did over 55 kilometers average speed. So yeah, it may look sometimes easy and relaxed, seeing them all ride together, but man, the cruise speed of the peloton is just so high. That it takes out of you, even if it's physically not a challenging race. The fact that the speeds are so high, you have to fight for position. It takes the stress takes a lot of energy out of you too.
Yeah. Yes, it does. I mean, obviously, we're not all pro cyclists, so it's going to feel harder for us. But just go out after this episode, go out tonight and try to wind it up to 55K an hour and hold that for as long as you can. That's really fast. I was shocked at the speed coming in.
Almost nobody can get up to 555, Spencer, on the flat. If I cannot.
I mean, obviously they have a peloton, I guess, so there's some benefit there, but those speeds blew me away. It's just like
I think it's worth trying for people. Just go on a slight downhill and go up to 55 kilometers an hour. You look and then imagine you have to do this for 15K on a flat road.
Yeah, with people around you, fighting you for wheels at that speed. And one thing you'll notice if you do ride that fast is aerodynamics. I'm not a big aero guy at all. Just like whatever, you should be in a wheel. Don't try, like, who needs to be aero? You should be hiding. But you really start to notice, like, even your hand position on the bars. Like, I do think aero. Like we're moving into the aerodynamic optimization era of sprinting.
Aerodynamics is a huge change in the last few years, and it gets more and more important. Narrow handlebars, tight fitting clothing, time trial helmets, and then also the position in the peloton. It's a lot different to be in the little ball. I always call it like a peloton when it goes fast. There's a little head, and then there's a little ball, and then there's a long tail.
Yeah.
You need to be in that little ball,
Yep. So let's take a break for sponsors, and then we'll continue the Van Aert conversation when we try to predict tomorrow's stage. All right, Johan, tomorrow's stage 5, or maybe you're listening to this tomorrow already on Wednesday. It's really interesting stage, 151 kilometers, a lot of shorter than normal stages is at this Giro. Like, I think there's only 3 stages over 200K. Normally there could be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. It kind of starts on a net downhill. Like, it basically is a little climb, descent, but the final 30K is hard. There's a climb. This is about with 30K to go. We have some differing information, but let's just say 3K long at 8.5%. That's not easy. And then you have 2 unclassified climbs to finish the stage. You climb up to, it's like a hillside town in southern Italy, right? Matera. I think it's maybe like a famous town. So it's like a 7K long climb the first time up, and then a little descent, and then a shorter climb. I'm looking for my notes. I closed it. With like 3K to go, there's a hard climb. It is 6.3K long for a kilometer, a little descent, and then 2.6% for the final kilometer. I don't know if it's 6.3% for a K is what I meant to say. So it's like climb, descent, and then Mads Pedersen-esque uphill sprint to the finish. I'll list off the odds on Unibet, and then we'll talk about who's going to win. Mads Pedersen is the favorite at plus 165. I've never seen odds like this day after day. Caden Groves plus 1,400. Tom Pidcock plus 1,600. Corbin Strong plus 1,600. Wout van Aert plus 1,600. Olav Koy plus 2,000. Primoz Roglic plus 2,000. Orlius Allure plus 2,200.
Or Luis Aular. Or Luis Aular.
That's like a tricky. This guy changed his name just to give me problems. Isaac Del Toro plus 3,300. Rick Plumers plus 3,300. Christian Scaroni plus 3,300. And then somewhere in here, did I say? Yeah, Primoz Roglic is plus 2,000. We don't need to mention everybody else. But the book clearly thinks like reduced difficult sprint. I'm not completely convinced, but how do you think this is going to play out and who's going to win, Johan?
Yeah, I think it's a strong sprinter who's going to win. This final is hard. We finished here in 2020 for the last time. Arnaud Demar won the stage. He was in great shape. I think he won 3 or 4 stages that Giro, plus the points jersey. But this final is harder than when Demar won. Yeah, man. I mean, it's Mats Pedersen. It's Mats Pedersen terrain. I think he's not going to have any problems unless there's an attack of a few GC guys, which I don't expect. Or if they attack, it's going to come back. There's not enough. I mean, there's going to be enough interest for a guy like Pedersen with a strong little track team to make it back, even if he gets in trouble on that. And then I'm speaking about that 3-kilometer climb at 8.5%, 9%. So yeah, Mats Pedersen for the win. Even what is he, plus 150? But yeah, to me it's clear. Then especially the last 1.2 kilometers, it's purely designed for Mats Pedersen. It's 2.5, 2.7%. That's his backyard.
Yeah, when I first looked at this stage like a week ago, I thought, oh, maybe that's a GC day. But weren't we just talking on Sunday about Mads Pedersen climbing at Paris-Nice and how good he looked? I mean, this guy is like an unbelievable climber at the moment. So assuming he's not hurt from today, he probably can get through these climbs. And then, yeah, if he's there in the final kilometer, that's a perfect uphill sprint for him. My issue is that price. Like, holy smokes, plus 165. Like, what? This is... I mean, maybe he wins, and maybe this line is correct. But I would go. I would start to shop down the list a little bit, just on price, pushing me out of that real estate market. But Tom Pidcock plus 1,600 kind of sticks out to me as. Are we going to look back and say, "Ooh, that was kind of silly that he was that far down, like priced it? That's like a wild card price," and you would have said, I don't know, a few years ago, you'd be like, well, this is a Tom Pidcock stage. There's some climbing. He's a fast sprinter. We were just discussing before we recorded. He won Brabant's Appeal against Wout van Aert in a sprint, and then maybe
not
almost.
The same. No, it's not the same thing also, but because, I mean, Brabant's Appeal against Wout van Aert was a little group of 4 riders after a classic one-day race. Everybody's drained. They're all dead. The more it's going to be, in my opinion, could be a reduced, I mean, we could call it bunch sprint or, I mean, it's probably going to be like whenever it's 30, 40 riders, it's a bunch sprint, right? So in that case, Pidcock is this, he can do it, but normally I think there's always going to be at least one guy who's faster than Tom, if not 2 or 3. Are
we sure it's going to be a bunch sprint? Kind of difficult. I think so. You don't think a small group could get away?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting.
There's only one way. There's only one way that happens is if Little Trek runs out of guys. The thing is, I think on this course, only with Vacek and Ciccone, they can keep it together because the speed they have for the moment, these guys, it's going to prevent any other attacks.
Yeah. Well, if it's not a bunch sprint, I'm looking through Tom. I'm trying to find you right.
But then, if it's not a bunch sprint, it could be not a bunch sprint if a breakaway makes it. But I think that's difficult with the interest there is from a guy like Pedersen and maybe some other riders who think they can sprint. You I mean, I don't think Coy will make it. It's too hard for him. But other sprinters like Corbin Strong or Oris Orlar or these guys can also have. But because at the end of the day, they will probably also help at some point with some teammates, because that's what they're there for, to try to win a stage. And as I've said before, if these guys want to win a stage in the sprint, first they need to make sure that there's nobody ahead of the peloton.
That does tend to help. I mean, I was going to say, I was doing a long-winded lead-in to say, well, if it is a bunch sprint, I would pick Corbin Strong just at plus 1,600. He looked pretty strong. What was that, on stage 3? Yeah. On Sunday, almost won.
Yeah, he was strong.
He can get over these climbs, and if
Corbin Strong was very strong.
He's a Kiwi, right? I feel like we got in trouble for maybe saying his.
I think he's New Zealand. Yeah, he's New Zealand. Yeah. New Zealand. Yeah.
He's kind of the budget Pedersen. So if Pedersen's plus 165 and the favorite, Corbin Strong, if you're looking for someone really similar to Mads Pedersen, but way cheaper, that would be Corbin Strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if I have to make a second choice, Spencer, I'm going to go for Caden Groves. At some point, Caden Groves is going to get in the sprint. He's also a strong uphill sprinter when the speeds are not super high.
Yeah.
He's plus 1,400, which is a good price, I think, for a rider like him. So that's going to be my second choice.
And today, yes, he's a very good uphill, slow speed sprinter. Today his last lead man peeled off at like 600 meters to go. It's like, good luck, buddy. Good luck with all these super fast people, and you have no lead out. But yeah, I do think Caden Groves is a good pick. Something I want to ask you about: Primož Roglič plus 650 for the podium. What do we think about that?
Listen, Primož needs to sprint. I mean, the sprint. He needs to fight for position and make sure that he's there, because it's top 10, top 15. Because if you're a GC rider and it's a hard final with a 2.5-3% drag in the last kilometer, you need to be careful that there's no gaps in front of you, right? And it is dangerous. Between that and sprinting for the podium, that's a big difference. No, I think there's guys who are going to be faster than Primož, so I don't see him finishing in the top 3.
Yeah, that is
because you need to take risks.
That's usually the concern.
You need to take risks, even if it's slightly uphill, you still need to take risks. If it would be 15, 20 riders, then yeah, but I think they're going to be more than that. They're going to be 40, 50 riders together.
I mean, I was just having flashbacks. The stage was at stage 16 of the 2022 Vuelta, where who won that? Mads Pedersen. Was that? I think that was the stage where they had this tiny gap over the peloton, and Primož is going all over the place in the sprint, and he crashes himself out of the GC. Yeah, so maybe he will not try to repeat that, and will hopefully be a little bit more reserved. I mean, just while I have you here, while we're talking about him, what would constitute a successful Giro d'Italia for Q36.5 and Tom Pidcock? Is it winning one stage? Is it
winning one stage is not enough. They need more. They need multiple stages, in my opinion. Everybody expects Q36.5 to win a stage with Pidcock or with somebody else. I mean, they have other riders. I mean, Matteo Moschetti, for example, is a fast sprinter. He's one of those guys that when he's least expected, he could win a stage.
Yeah.
But winning a stage, first of all, it's not easy. Not every team is going to win a stage, that's for sure, right? Because the Pedersen won already 2, so there's already at least one or a few teams that are not going to win a stage, and then the mountain stages is usually between 3-4 riders. So the GC favorites will probably win one or more stages. So, but yeah, have they won a Grand Tour stage already? No, I don't think so. I don't think Q36.5 ever won a Grand Tour.
They ever raced a Grand Tour? I guess not. I mean, I guess if you're counting them as a continuation of MTM Quebeca, then.
Well, yeah, no, but that's different. It's a different team.
But because the only other year they were also, I mean, something I kind of want to put the numbers on too. This is not totally relevant to tomorrow's stage, but everyone's always like, oh, we're going to go in and we're going to try to get in breakaways and mountain stages and win. And you start to think about it, like, how many of those are there? Because there's actually not that many mountain stages that are won by breakaways anymore. The Giro is kind of a exception, but it's not that common actually.
Yeah, less and less. Yeah.
All right. Any more thoughts on stage 5, Johan?
No, that's it, Spencer.
I'm quite excited for the stage. It's a good one.
It's a good one. We don't know, there's different scenarios. We don't know if it's going to be a reduced bunch sprint. We don't know. I mean, battle between, although, this climb with 30K to go, at least if you look at the profile, I think it's a lot harder than everybody expects. We could see people testing themselves against the others, see how they feel. It's day 5, so we start to get into multiple day fatigue, even if they had a rest day or a transfer day. Still, it wears you out. So after 5 days, people start to feel the fatigue already a little bit.
Yeah. Are you sure about that? We don't need to get into that, but
well, I am sure. Other people, I mean, you know how much I like to sometimes debate on social media. There's a few people who are questioning my position on that, but yeah. Cycling may have changed a lot. It has, but 3-week stage races is still 3 weeks of racing, and it's a accumulation of fatigue. And every single effort you do, you better get a good benefit, or you will pay the price. If it's not the day after, it's 3 days after. So it's a calculation, and doesn't matter if it's easy at the start or if they have a rest day, or it's still. It's fatigue on fatigue. You can only know this really if you've done it yourself, or if you've been numerous times in the situation with riders. So, yeah, I stand by my words.
Sometimes people who have done it themselves still don't. Like, remember Pogacar was at 2023 Tour de France, where he was like sprinting it was like the first week and a half, he was just sprinting everything in, even with no time bonuses available. And it ended up costing them actually.
Yeah.
So you're right. You do have to, that's a good rule to live stage racing life by. If you do an effort, you better get something out of it, and try not to let time go away without the other person putting effort in.
If you do a big effort or a small effort, you will pay the price for this in the stages after. It doesn't matter if you have a rest day or they give you time to recover. It adds up.
Yes, I mean, I guess physically it has to, but I don't know how this became up for debate. But it's good to set the record straight, and we will talk about the stage tomorrow after the stage, and then predict stage 6. So thanks, Johan. We'll talk to you then.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.